So, this is Coach Charlene, and I just wanted to do a heart to heart to a nurse out there or nurses out there because I have been in the nursing profession for over 32 years now. And as you all know by now, I early retired last year in July. So, it's been a year. But I want to just chat with you right now, just because on this particular channel, I do tend to talk about well-being a lot. I talk about burnout. I talk about you being a leader. I talk about all types of things because this show is really catered toward all things well-being. But I thought I would do like somewhat of a fireside chat just to talk about my story of burnout and what happened and how did I notice it, figuring out the signs and things like that. So let's go back to the beginning. First of all, I want to really go into, I started the profession in 1993, very excited. I started in the NICU, and that was like an amazing job. I had challenges throughout there, which I talk about in some of my other videos. But what I want you to see is so from 1993 until pretty much 2006, perhaps, is when I was just having so much fun. I was growing. I was, in the NICU, loving what I was doing. I was like a adrenaline junkie. I loved dealing with codes and resuscitating babies and, doing all of those things. It was nothing more beautiful than seeing someone come into the world. A little baby comes into the world. And I think that was so significant for me because when you really think about the power that you possess as a nurse, it is very sobering if you really think about it. For instance, I worked in the NICU and I worked in labor and delivery before. But every time I go to a delivery, the brevity of me being an instrument of bringing another human being into the world is going to be a future president, a future business owner, a future nurse, a future school teacher, a future entrepreneur, a future pastor. I don't know who it is that I'm helping to usher into the world. So just that thought alone is so much more than, I can't even like put words into it. It's such a miraculous event that helps you to stay grounded and to centered in the things that you're doing. In other words, what I'm really trying to say is that I can't forget my impact that I make in those moments. In those moments when a lady is going to come in and she's getting ready to deliver, I am going to be the instrument that is used to help that baby take its first breath. That's like sobering when you really think about it. I am helping the next president, the next CEO, the next minister. I'm helping that person take their first breath. And so I wanted to kind of harp on that a little bit because sometimes we don't understand the impact that we make. And so when you start thinking about the impact, I went to work every day and every morning I prayed. I want to make a difference in someone's life, whether it be a patient, a baby, my coworker, leadership, whoever it was. I did not care who it was. My declaration and intention for the day was I want to make a difference in somebody's life today. And can I just tell you this, that every day that I was a nurse, even in the midst of being burnt out, I made a difference in other people's lives every day that I was at work. And so what I'm trying to really get over to you is that you are so valuable. You are so important. You are not defined by how you're feeling right now. Even for those right now that's going to listen to this and they're feeling a little bit on the burnt out side. They're feeling like nobody's listening to them. Nobody cares. They're not doing anything to fix this situation, this short staff, this, all of the different things that we can talk about. But even in the midst of all of that, you're still that amazing nurse that went into the profession intentionally. And a lot of us get burned out or disillusioned because once we get into the systems are sometimes often dark. And so that's why I love to be able to say that I am the light in the midst of darkness. And Dr. Jane Watson says she's the light in institutional darkness. And that's what we are. Sometimes the system may not necessarily change, but guess what? I can change from the inside out so that I can impact those that are in my sphere of influence that I can impact. And so never ever negate the fact that you're an amazing human being, that you have power that you don't even know that you have. When you walk into the room, you set the atmosphere in such a beautiful way that healing can come forth. And that's why I love that healing. I can be a healing presence or I can be a toxic presence. And you have to choose which one that you want to be. Do you want to be healer? Do you want to release healing or do you want to relieve toxins? And most of us are going to say, we don't get up um, just because we want to release toxins. No, we don't. We get up and really in our heart want to make a difference in someone else's life. We want to go take care of our patients. We want to be the best that we can be. We want to level up our practice. We want to make sure that we're providing exceptional care. That's like a given. And that's the expectation. If you're a patient, let's just flip the script for a minute. If you're a patient, what would you want? Would you want exceptional care? Would you want compassion? I'm going to tell you a story. This had nothing to do with nursing, but I remember I was, um, let's see, when was this? This has been a little while ago, but my son, he had we moved to a different area, and the teacher, I had a parent student conference. Plus, I called forth a meeting with the principal as well because my son was struggling a little bit because we moved and then they were just being like extremely insensitive and he hated going to school and all of that. And so I remember sitting there having the conversation with the vice principal, I think it was, and she said, well, you know what, Miss Johnson, I don't get paid to show compassion. I get paid to teach. And oh my God, you guys, everything within me wanted to snarl at her and tell her off. And I flipped the script on her. And I said, let me ask you a question. If you were in my hospital bed, what would you want to be shown? And she said, oh, no, I didn't mean it like that, Mrs. Johnson. Yeah, you did mean it like that. And so my point is when we put ourselves in another person's shoes, that's when we can usually say, okay, let me just if I have an attitude, let me do something about it so that I can come in a better space. Because there's a quote by Dr. Jane Watson. Let me see if I can remember. And it says, without an awakening and awareness of our very presence and our intentionality, we can be actually toxic to the environment. We can cause the environment to actually suck oxygen out of the air versus breathing life into it. And so that's why I practice presence so much. And I would encourage any nurse out there, even if you're struggling with burnout, like I mentioned early, with moral injury, with emotional exhaustion, whatever it is that you're dealing with, you are not alone, first of all. We know that 65% of the nursing profession is experiencing burnout symptoms. And so we can do something about that. Don't be ashamed to just take some time off and to get you together. I think that's one of the things I would say in retrospect of me early retiring. I did not take enough time to myself because once you move up into leadership, it's this constant grind. You can't turn it off, especially if you're a manager. You can't necessarily turn it off. Even on vacation, you can't really turn that faucet off because someone will call you because there's an emergency or whatever. And so, but to be able to take vacations and do not disturb, don't even call me, and that was my fault for not setting boundaries in that way. And so, in retrospect, I'm encouraging anybody to take the time off that you need. Don't try to go in there and be Mr. or Mrs. Fix It All because guess what? The job is going to go on. This was really sobering. And this is another story. As you can see, I absolutely love stories because stories really teach us and it helps us to relate to other people. It brings transformation, it brings healing. And so one of the things, you know how we say that you don't want to really live in regret. Well, boy, this is one of the ones that I have had to surrender to God because my mom was sick. And, we were going, back and forth because my dad had passed, a few years prior to that. And so I would go down and see her and then she'd be better. And so it was like a back and forth thing, a back and forth thing. But I still feel like I didn't get there enough. And so when the time came, she passed on, of course. And I remember thinking, oh my God, why didn't I spend more time with my mom, even though I'm way across on the other side of the United States? I wish I would have spent more time with her. I wish I would have flew her out here more, although it was tough to get her out here. But in retrospect, I just kind of wish that I would have spent more time with her. But guess why I didn't? Because I felt obligated. I just had become an assistant nurse manager. I was like, okay, I got to be here. I got to prove myself. I got to do this. I got to do that. Oh, I can't take time off. It was like totally warped thought process. And nobody else, I mean, that is what everybody else was doing. And so nobody was displaying well being at all. And so, of course, I fell into the trap of doing that. And one sobering thought came to me after this, after I lost my mom a couple of years later. Who's going to be there for you on your deathbed? Who's going to be there for you when you're sick and you need somebody to take care of you? Will it be that job? Probably not. Most likely not. It's going to be your loved ones. And so our heartbeats are so important. So that's why that like really shifted my perspective and really made me make different decisions from that point on, because the job is going to be there, the work is going to be there, but we cannot forget the importance of those that we love. And I mean that in a serious way, even with coming home. You're exhausted, you're burned out. Don't come home and put the exhaustion and burnout on your loved ones. You have to figure out a way to make sure that you're taking care of yourself so that before you cross the threshold of your house, you're doing some breathing techniques so that you can be all the way present for your family member, for your loved ones, the ones that are going to be there for you when nobody else is. And so, yeah, I just wanted to kind of share those thoughts with you because I think sometimes we kind of miss the mark, especially as nurses. Nurses are amazing human beings, but we also have been conditioned to be so busy and to prove our worth by doing more things. And I just think that is just a dangerous narrative that we have been given, even starting out in nursing school. And so we can be disruptive and change that narrative. We can change that narrative by saying, you know what? No, I'm not going to work extra today. No, I would love to do that, but that does not like it doesn't fit my boundaries. My bandwidth cannot take on one more project. And most of us don't do that because we're like, oh my gosh, what are you gonna think? I gotta prove myself. And quite honestly, at the end of the day, if it's gonna make you feel amazing, then do it, even though it's hard work, because purpose-filled work, you don't care how tired you get, you keep on doing it and doing it because it adds to you versus taken away. But if it's something that you got to do and it's treacherous, it's tedious, and you're like, oh my God, why did I say yes to this? That's what's taken away. That's literally what's taken away from you. And I know I experienced that, like I told you guys a little bit later on, that as once I separated, there was a transition period that I had to go through, which everybody has to go through. But what was significant about my moment is that I got quiet enough to be able to listen and to hear the whispers of my heart. And so that's why I encourage people to take some time so that you can hear the whispers of your heart. It is so important. So anyway, I just wanted to bring some thoughts with my little fireside chat to you, any nurses out there struggling. If you're out there struggling right now, please don't struggle alone. Please don't. Please reach out. Reach out. You're welcome to reach out to me. I mean, DM me, send me an email, whatever you need to do so that you can get the help that you need. because we don't want anybody to suffer in silence. And unfortunately, a lot of nurses do. We suffer in silence. We don't know what's going on at each other's home. Sometimes things are so horrible at home, and then you come work. That's where you're getting your breaths of fresh air, so to speak. But we don't want you to suffer alone. And there's tools, there's resources out there because you're so valuable and you're so important. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this fireside chat. I just wanted to kind of come live and just kind of be real and to be raw with you because we know, although nursing is an amazing profession and it pays very well, it is very challenging at times too. And so I want you to stay encouraged. And I also want you to be okay, even if you're in the midst of burnout. You're not defined by it. I already said that, but you're not defined by it. It's not who you are. You might be struggling for this season, but believe me, that season is not going to last. You're going to get the tools, the resources that you need. So, anyway, if you're not a part of my Substack community, why don't you join my community because you'll get weekly whispers. I send out newsletters and also have a weekly whisper as well. And I'm going to start doing some classes in Substack in particular, just trying to like move all of my stuff over to Substack. So, anyway, great talking to you today. And remember, healing starts from the inside out. If you want to have a powerful presence, make sure that your insides are healed and whole, or at least in the process of being that. Okay, have a great day and make sure you know that your well being matters.